This is Destination Dig. I'm Marissa Martinez, and I am teaching you about recreation. I am a PE teacher in the Irving ISD, and I've been teaching for 14 years. I also go to Plymouth Park Baptist Church in Irving. Now, with our recreation, we actually have two different areas: our younger students, 3s through kindergarten, as well as our 1st through 5th. So either one, I'm kind of teaching both at the same time, and I'll help explain the difference between the two. Both of those different areas have recreation cards, a pack of cards for games and activities in that area. So this pack is for the 3s through kindergarten, and you'll find that in the kindergarten pack. If you're teaching the 1st through 5th grade, there's a separate pack of games that are better aged for them, and then that is a separate, just a stack like this, and it's only about $5, $6, something like that. So I encourage you to get that stack of recreation cards that you can use easily. Just pull out a card, read the game and activity, and it makes easy or simple to keep in your pocket when you're playing games in our recreation. Now, VBS this year is Destination Dig, and the recreation section is Recreation Ruins. So you can decorate if you want with all kinds of ruins that are laying around. We got all kinds of things set up here on the side to show you. Or a lot of times you're running and playing in an open space, so you don't need decorations, but you might have something set up in the hallway. But if you want to decorate, that's technically the area is called Recreation Ruins. A lot of our games and activities have to do with that same theme, either using tools for architecture kind of things, or hunting or searching or looking for things or finding things. So when you have games and activities, maybe you make up your own game and activity, you can kind of use those concepts and ideas. Don't worry, they have the games for you in the recreation cards. But if you like to make up your own, you can do that as well. I want to also remind you that you need to know the motto and the verse, and it's about seeking and finding when you search with all your heart. And also our motto this year is seek truth, right? And then we're going to find Jesus. So start incorporating those kinds of things in with your recreation games and activities. A few tips for you for our recreation space. First off, think about the area that you're going to be using. Are you going to be indoors? Are you going to be outdoors? Are you going to be on grass or concrete? Are you on carpet? Are you in an open gym? Is it a small classroom? Think about those spaces and places that you're going to be working with, as well as think about the students that you're going to be working with. Consider their age and what is appropriate for their age. If you're working with 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, they can't read. So don't give them a paper and say, read this or do this or try to put this memory verse in order, because they can't read. Also, know that the older kids, they don't like to do the young baby kind of things. So make sure you challenge them in different ways, whether they're 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade. Kind of, you can give them a little bit more of those challenging opportunities. I know the 3s and through kindergarten give a good card for you. They have lots of cards in here for you. And one of them explains all about the characteristics of things that 3-year-olds through kindergartners are able to do, such as they can run and walk backwards, those kinds of things you would need to know. You can't run and skip and gallop and jump and leap all over the place, but they can do simple things like running backwards. They can stand and balance on one foot. They would be able to catch a ball with 2 hands, but they can't like throw and catch and run and hit. That's too much for 3-year-olds. So know the characteristics of the students that you are going to be using or working with. And sometimes I know you have mixed groups, so you might have a 3-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 7-year-old. Understand the different areas or ages of that, and then adjust or modify as you need. Also, make sure you have a start and stop signal, because when you get kids in the middle of the game and they're playing and they're working, and sometimes you need to get their attention, they need to know that you need them to stop. So simply using words like stop or freeze, those kinds of words are clear understanding of what to do. But you may want to use something else like a whistle, or you may shout out a certain word. You could even use the motto, say seek truth, and the kids say find Jesus. And you could use something like that to get their attention. But practice that start and stop signal so that when you need them to stop, they'll be able to use that signal. You can even just use music, like play, and when the music plays, the kids play, and when I stop the music, whoop, oh, everybody stops. Great job. So make sure you have that set in place before the kids start playing their game. Next thing is make sure you are prepared. Have your materials ready, a basket ready to go. Make sure you have plenty of things or items that you're going to be using for today, and make sure you also have a plan set out. I'm going to play this activity, then I'm going to move the kids over here. We'll play this activity, then we're going to shift to this game, and plan extra because you never know what's going to happen. You might run out of time. You might go overtime. You might, there's a dog in the middle of the game. We got to go inside now. Now what are you going to do with the inside game? So have an extra plan and extra, so extra materials, but also extra things to do in case you run into a situation. It might be that the kids don't get the game, it's confusing, maybe you forgot a piece of the game and you need to scratch that one and go on to another one. So that way you'll have extra things planned and ready for an incident that might happen. Also, I want to make sure that you understand that recreation time is teaching time. It's not just about playing games. You get a unique opportunity to teach about the Bible story and the truths about the Bible through games and movement and exercise. Most of the time, kids enjoy playing and having fun and doing different kinds of activities, and that's a great way for you to get their attention and then teach them about the Bible story. They might have heard the Bible story earlier from the Bible story teacher. They might have already done a craft about it. They might have already done the music, but some kids are learners through moving. They're called kinesthetic learners. That means they like to move and do, and they're like, oh, I get it. I understand because of the game and the activity that you played. So I want to make sure that you know the story and the verse and the motto, but also that you incorporate it into the game. So you might simply just say, instead of just saying, okay, we're going to tag, and then these people are untaggers. Instead, you could say, these people are taggers and these people are untaggers. Do you guys promise? Do you promise to untag? There's a game called Promise Tag because they have to promise, and you can incorporate that with the story. Just like God keeps his promises, those people who promise to untag are going to also promise. So incorporate some of those words and concepts and ideas. Also, there's several games that have to do with rolling because we're talking about the stone was rolled away from the tomb. So pretty much any game that has to do with rolling or any underhand rolling, you can roll it into a goal, you can roll it around a team, you can roll it to somebody, you can roll it with bowling, all different ways to roll and incorporate, hey, this is just like the stone that was rolled away from the tomb when Jesus resurrected. Bring those story concepts in. Also on the cards, the games that they have for you, a lot of the times it has a part on the game where you are supposed to incorporate, or it brings the connection together from, okay, how did that game relate to the story? They have it written for you. Sometimes it's called Make the Point, and then it'll say like this game's called Roll the Stone Away. So they're rolling the stone, and then they make the point. Jesus fulfilled God's plan to be our Savior. So it has that on there for you. And sometimes on the back with the instructions, it also has a way for you to incorporate. It'll say, tell them this, and it'll have a explanation about that story. So you don't always have to think of it yourself. It's actually written there for you, but I'm telling you to make sure you make that point to the students about the activity. Also, when you are working and playing, incorporate yourself with the game. Have fun. Interact with the kids. If you are able to play the game with them, play or tease them along the way, like, I'm going to get you, I'm faster than you. That way you're interacting with them, having fun, enjoying them. Call them by name, learn their names as quick as you can, make an association or a connection with them. Oh yeah, I saw your brother earlier. He was running fast. Can you run like your brother? Awesome, let's do it. That way you're making those connections with them and they feel like, hey, that person knows me, that person cares about me. If you have other helpers helping, like teen helpers or youth helpers or other adult helpers, have them incorporating as well, talking to kids in line, encouraging kids along the way, helping kids understand the instructions, like, no, not that way, come over here. Yeah, get the ball, put it over there. Good job. Interacting, just building that confidence and encouragement and letting them know that someone cares about them. Also, it is possible there are going to be times that problems do arise. Just with physical activities, sometimes people get so excited and so amped up that we come into conflict. So make sure you already plan ahead when there is a problem. Either someone's upset about an activity or a game, or someone's their emotions are just getting too high and they just can't control those. So have a cool down area, a space that they can go to relax, get a drink of water, whatever the situation is. And then also make sure you have some other helpers with you that can buddy up with them. You can say, hey, Mr. John, I need you to help Billy over here. So Mr. John can go help Billy real quick, and you can keep leading the activities, and that situation can then be handled. Guess what? Situations probably are going to arise, but try to address them quickly and discreetly. So instead of saying, Johnny, sit down. We don't want to hear that, right? Everybody wants to play. We just go, Johnny, sit down. Thank you. And then we're going to keep playing the game. Hey, y'all sit down. Listen. Very good. And we're going to keep going. That way you're not distracting or creating this whole big ordeal. You just quietly go to the student, tap them on the shoulder, redirect them, quietly give the information, and then everybody else can keep playing. They may not even notice that something's happening. But make sure you do address those situations quickly so that they don't keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, all right? Also, when we're doing our vacation recreation, we want to make sure that the attitudes and the atmosphere is positive, encouraging. Use that positive feedback if you can. Instead of saying, don't do something or quit doing that, point out the good one. Oh, look at Amy. She's sitting so nicely. I like how your hands are together. That way it encourages the other kids who are not doing that to do that and follow just like Amy was. Instead of pointing out the negative parts, point out the positive. Or just encourage kids when you see them sad. I didn't get a turn and I'm sad. Oh, I'm so glad we had so much fun playing. Did you have fun? Yeah, we all got up and played. Then you had fun. Don't worry too much about the losing and the winning aspect, because Vacation Bible School is about teaching the truths of the Bibles to the students, not about winning and losing. So just encourage them and don't try to put too much stress on the winning or the losing. Like, oh, that team lost. You guys are the winners. It's just like, yay, both teams finished. Great job, guys. Instead of focusing on the winning and losing side. That way you can keep the focus about Jesus, which is what we want here at Vacation Bible School. Now, I'm going to remind you about some equipment that you can use. There's all types of different balls, and sometimes there's a few activities where you throw the balls around other people. Make sure you have squishy balls or foam balls. This is kind of a squishy foam ball. You don't want like the big red rubber balls when you're playing the chariot dodgeball game. That's not going to be a good idea. Or you can also use things for lines to draw boundaries. This is just a jump rope or any type of rope or twine. If I needed to make a line right here for the kids to stand by, just drop this on the ground and it creates a line or a boundary. Especially if you're in a space like an outside area and you can't draw chalk on the ground, then that would be good, like in the grass. If you are on concrete, then you could use chalk to draw the boundary lines, the start line here and then the end line there, the boundary you want them to stay within. You can also use cones. These are just small little cones, or there's all types of cones, and set them up in corners so they say, okay, from that corner to this corner, this corner, this corner, it creates our playing area. Don't go outside that area. So using cones to help set up that boundary. Chalk if you're on a concrete. If you're inside, you can use tape, whether it's like masking tape or painter's tape, and tape out the boundaries of the areas, or just tape a line, say here's the start line. You might even have 2 or 3 different start lines for different groups or teams, but that's a way to create that space for you, whether you're inside or outside. Make sure the kids know the space or the boundary that they're supposed to stay within. There's also opportunities for you to tag. When you're tagging, I encourage you to use something like a noodle. And a noodle, when you're tagging, will make it a little bit softer to hit somebody, and it kind of gives you that distance as you're running so they're not going to bump or crash. So you'd reach out and then just touch or tag somebody. Instead of swinging and slamming like this, there's just reaching to touch. So this is just simply a pool noodle. Often they come really long. You just cut it in half. And then you have about this long. I don't know, about 3 feet is good. 1 or 2 feet kind of gets a little bit shorter, but 3-4 feet is a good distance for tagging. So whoever has the tagging just runs, they touch people, and then however the game is played. But noodles are really easy or a little bit safer when you're tagging. Now let me share with you about the cards and some of the games in the activities I want to explain a little bit closer to you. So the first one here I have, it's called Search the Truth or Search for Truth. And this is from the preschool or the 3s through kindergarten. And this one, you simply just take a scroll and you pass it around, kind of like a hot potato. And you pass it around until the music stops. And when the music stops, that person opens it or does whatever. That would be a neat way for you to incorporate either the motto or a word that you're trying to teach for the day, a picture of a story before you tell the story, or like this one has for us, our verse. So we would pass it around while the music's playing, boom, 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 boom. Oh, stop. That person would open it up, and then we would see what was on the scroll. Ooh, what does their scroll say? And then this one has the verse, so then that would be a great teaching opportunity. Oh, you guys repeat after me. Say, you will, good. Seek me, and find me. And then you can keep teaching them through that. Or like I said, you could have a picture of the story. Oh, this is a picture of a cave? What is that? If that would be like the tomb or something like that. So you could show pictures. You could even have several scrolls and say, oh, we saw one. Now let's pass a different one around. Okay, let's play it another time and pass a different one. So you can kind of incorporate some of those teaching opportunities through that simple game from our 3 through kindergarten pack. Next, we have for you another game called Make a Plan. And Make a Plan is simply just make a list of different activities or little things that the kids do, and they have to go in order. And the last one should be something that interacts with the leader, like give the leader a high five or run around the leader or something like that. So you would make a list of like 10 jumping jacks, 4 squats, spin around in a circle 3 times, and so on and so on. Now, I want to point this one out to you because where it has the point where you bring the connection from the Bible story, it says Jesus fulfilled God's plan to be our Savior. So sometimes you can be like, just like you had a plan to follow, Jesus also had a plan he had to follow. And that way you can kind of make that connection with the story. This is from our 1st through 5th grade recreation pack. The next game is called Gather the Artifacts, and this is also from our 1st through 5th grade recreation pack. And I just want to explain because something's a little tricky on it. You have several players, and they're basically relaying materials or artifacts back and forth. And what happens is the first person runs down, they pick up the artifact, and they run it back. And then the second person takes the same first item, they run down, they pick up a second artifact. So now they have 2 things. They run it back. Then the third person takes these 2 items, runs, and they get a 3rd thing. So by the end, the last person's trying to juggle all these different items that they have all the way back. So I wanted to point that out. It's not just relay 1 and leave it, relay 1 item. By the end, they should have a lot of items. And actually, you can just keep playing the game. They can keep going turn after turn until all of the artifacts are gone. And you can use anything for artifacts. Use a roll of tape. Use a random cone you have. Use a ball here, a scoop, or whatever you have laying around, a roll of twine here. So anything can really be artifacts, whether it's just equipment that's set up or themed materials. And that game's called that game is not called Make a Plan. That game's called Gather the Artifacts. So just like it sounds, they gather up the artifacts, relaying them back and forth. Another game that we have for you is called Follow the Plan. And basically it's tic-tac-toe, where you use hula hoops set up in a grid of 9. So a 3x3 grid, hula hoops laid out on the ground. And the students go one at a time. They try to take their beanbag, run it across, put it in a hula hoop. And there's a big grid on the ground, just like a tic-tac-toe board. They go back, and the next person then on their team runs and puts it in a different hula hoop. Now they're trying to get it in a row of 3. Once the third person has already run out, if they realize, we haven't made 3, then the 4th person, when they come, they move one of the items that's already on there to a different spot, because at the same time, the other team is also relaying down. So as the other team relays down, person 1, person 2 are going at the same time. Then the red team and the green team, they're running at the same time. Oh, he's faster. Red, put it down. I was going to put mine there, and then I switch it over. So that game's a little tricky. You might have to demonstrate it first, explain it, and then have the kids go. With 2 different teams running at the same time towards the same board, but you could also have several groups set up. So I could have a grid over there with 2 teams, a grid right here with 2 teams, a grid over there with 2 teams. That way you can keep teams small. You want only about 3, 4, maybe 5 people having to wait in line. If you have more than 5 people waiting in line, consider creating another area or space to do the same game, another setup, or also consider making another team if you can. That way kids don't get like distracted in line and start causing problems. If there's only a few people, then their turn comes up really quick. That game is called Follow the Plan. And the point also is kind of the same as the other one, where Jesus knew what would happen, but he still followed God's plan. So even in their game, they had a plan. They're like, we're going to put it 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to score. But the plan changed because the other team put one there and they had to go change their plan. So that's kind of the connection that they make there for you. Another fun little game that they have, this is in the older group, 1st through 5th, is the rolling, rolling, rolling. And like I said, a lot of rolling games have to do with that, the story of the resurrection where the stone is rolled away from the tomb. This game, you're going to use a straw and a little ping pong ball or table tennis or a lightweight little ball, and you put it on the ground, and you should have already ahead of time taped out a little maze. So maybe it goes zigzag, maybe it just turns right, left, maybe it goes in a straight line and then turns. You can kind of create like a traveling path, and the student will put the ball at the beginning of the path, and then they will blow it along as the ball moves. So when they blow behind the ball, it moves it and they try to keep it on the course. That one will be a little tricky, and you need a straw for each person. And then also make sure at the end you have a place to throw that straw away or put that straw away. Otherwise, they're going to play with it for the rest of the time. So make sure you put that away after. That game's called Rolling, 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 and it's talking about Jesus fulfilled God's plan to be our Savior. Now, another card I want to explain to you because it's a little tricky if you haven't seen this activity done before. This game is called Roll the Stone Away. And what happens is you create 2 circles, an inner circle, so a group in the middle, and they're facing out, they're looking away from each other. And then there's a group that goes around them, and they're facing in, so both groups are looking towards each other. That way you create a traveling circle, or you could call it a track per se, and then you have a ball that you're rolling around on the track. So the students, as they stand, they kind of push the ball along, where someone on the other side would also help push it along. That's what I'm saying. It's a little tricky. Their picture actually does help explain it. If you notice how the kids are set up. Now you can kind of play this 2 different ways. So the first way is just like I said, you just push it along. The kids try to get the ball rolling through the track and try to get it to go around. You can keep it going like that just for fun, just to practice and play. Or you can add on to it, like our older students might like 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, a little bit more challenge, where someone steps into the track and they're trying to run away from it as the kids scoot the ball along, trying to use the ball to tag the student that's running away. At my school, we call this Indiana Jones. So the first person's running around, they're trying to get away from the ball, and the team is trying to push the ball along. Even more of a challenge is you can have that person turn at any moment. So if they want to turn and go this way, then everyone has to sweep the ball back. But that's more of an upper level 4th and 5th who already understand the game. So there's kind of several different layers that you can play that game. I wanted to point it out. It's called Roll the Stone Away. Another activity is called Tools of the Trade. And I wanted to point this activity out because it's possible kids could start to get a good idea and they could cheat in this game. So I want you to be prepared if that were to happen. So what happens in this game is they all stand behind a line. They think of one of, you give them like 2 or 3 or maybe even 5 if they're old enough, different choices of artifact tools. You could say like brush, magnifying glass, hat, those kinds of things. And there's one person who's it per se. That's when you would need your noodle. And whoever's it would shout out the one that they were thinking of, and anyone who was on the line thinking the same thing, they would run. Meaning, let's say it's shovel, jar, rock. Which one are you thinking? Ooh, I'm quietly thinking to myself, rock, rock, rock. But the tagger says shovel, but I want to run. So I'm like, yeah, I said shovel too. Cool, so I can run. So that's where they might cheat in that game. So just know that that could happen. Or you might give them like a 1, 2, or 3, and they have to hold it up while they're waiting. That way you can visually see if they're cheating, because they go 3, oh, I mean a 1, and then I'm trying to go. So pay attention to those kind of things that may happen. And like I said earlier, don't try to hound on them too much or threaten too much, like, you're cheating, you're out of this game forever. Just remind them, hey, I think you said shovel, okay? So we didn't say shovel. Let the other people go when it's their turn. So that part is a little tricky in there. Another one I want to point out for you comes from our little kids, our 3s through kinder, and this is called Grab the Treasure. And what happens is there's a parachute set up, and there's articles and items under it, maybe like a shovel, magnifying glass, coins, like leaves, all those kinds of things could be under the parachute. And what happens is the whole team lifts it up, and the teacher tells one student to go get a coin. Johnny, coin. So Johnny's supposed to run under the parachute, pick up the coin, and then bring it back out while everybody else holds the parachute. It's a pretty cute little fun game, especially so that everybody can get a turn. And if you don't have a parachute, you could use something like a towel. This is just a regular towel from home, or a beach towel, and everybody kind of holds the edge, so that way when you lift it up, then it kind of works the same as a parachute, especially if you only have a small group. You could also use a sheet if you have something that, a group that's larger, like a twin bed sheet or whatever, then everybody holds the edges of it, and when you say up, they go up, and whoever's turn it is goes and finds the artifact that is under there. I want to walk you through real quick some of the games from the 3s through kindergarten pack. A lot of theirs are explanatory from either the name and or the picture, so you'll be able to catch on real quick. Nativity scavenger hunt, just like it sounds, you find articles from the nativity, such as like animals or Mary, Joseph, angels, just hidden all around the room. Wash the chalk figure, just like it sounds. You have chalk on the ground, so this would be an outside activity, and then you have a spray bottle, the kids spray the water. Water plop is a cute little game where they're tossing lids into a bucket, and the connection on this that they have for you is when they were listening to their story, they were talking about how Jesus washed the disciples' feet, and so the lids that you use have feet on them, and then they throw them in the water to wash feet. So that's a cute little connection for our 3s through kindergarten. There's another one, kind of like a pin the tail on the donkey, but you're really just throwing buttons to a map, called Map Maker Toss. Imprint match is nice and easy for the little guys. You just use Play-Doh, you push an item in it like a key or a ring or something like that, and they have to try to match this imprint to this item. Coin excavation is they kind of scoop through some sand and try to find some either coins or little marbles or little toys, little things that would be small. And when you do this, you'll need a deep enough bucket for when they scoop in the sand, or it says you can use cornmeal or something like that. When I tried it, we scooped, but we could already see the artifacts. So you need a little bit of a deeper bucket filled with the sand and the artifacts in there. And then they kind of just shake it through a strainer, and then they're, oh, I found a coin through my strainer. This one's nice and easy. Build a find. So you find things around the room, like bricks that you've made, and then you go and find them and build something. Pass the pan. A pan is like a dustpan like this, and then you have some kind of ball, either a watered up paper or a ball like this, and then they pass the pan to the next person. But as you can see, when I pass it, ooh, it starts rolling. So you can use a larger ball, it makes it a little bit less. You can use a smaller ball, it rolls a little bit more. Same thing, is kind of like a ping pong ball. And as I pass it, the next person would get it, and the next person, whoa, careful, don't drop it. Next person and next person. That's a fun little game for the little guys. They like that kind of thing. Pass the pan. Scoot to the side. They use a riding toy, like a little scooter or a small little bike that they can ride down, either write their name, or if they're not old enough to write their name, they just use their sticker and they put it on wherever you have the site. So it's kind of like you check into the site for the day, like the architects have to do. Gear mix up. They pick an item out of the backpack. They see what it is. Ooh, shovel. Okay, they put it back in, and then everybody gets to pick an item, and then the teacher calls out an item, and if they have that item, then they switch places with whoever also had the item. So whoever had a shovel and the teacher yells shovel, then I get to switch because I picked out a shovel, so we switch places. They would like that a lot. This one's called Search, Sweep, and Dig, and all you do is just act it out. Find the glove, just like it sounds. Someone has a glove hidden, and one of the kids have to say who they think. Ooh, I think he hid it. No, he's not hiding the glove. Oh, I think Johnny hid it. Oh, Johnny does have the glove. So you're just guessing who's hiding the glove. Same kind of idea called find the gear. One person goes and hides an object around the space, and then the other kids have to find where they hid it. Water bottle bowling, just like it sounds. You use water bottles and you roll to knock over the water bottles for bowling. Hold your hat, limbo, so you could use some kind of stick or get your noodle back out to just hold. And the students who are going, they put the hat on, they hold their hat as they go under. So one or two people can hold the noodle and they would hold their hat as they go under. That would require either several hats or one person when they finish, then the next person would go. So you might consider using 2 or 3 or 4 different types of hats. It could be like a fishing hat, that one's a straw hat, could even be like a baseball hat, just something fun and silly to hold your hat as you go under the limbo bar. Build, bucket build, just like it sounds. You use buckets to build up the space. That is from our 3s through kinder. Let me go really quick through our 1st through 5th to explain some of their activities and games. Like I said, these cards are really nice because they can just fit in your pocket. You can say, okay, game 1, game 2, game 3 for the day, and I can have these cards and just pull it out. Okay, I finished that one, throw it to the side, and so on. So that's really nice about the recreation cards that they have them. Promise tag, I referenced earlier, is like freeze tag, and then you have some unfreezers. But the point is that the unfreezers have to promise to untag the people when they get tagged, and that's the connection kind of that they make there. Pottery jar bust is using some balloons with pieces of paper, they call them a scroll, tucked in there with different words from the verse. It could be the day verse or just the overall verse, maybe even your motto or something else that you're trying to teach along the way. And as the kids pop the balloon, they have to get the pieces and put them in order. Note on this one that some kids are allergic to latex, so make sure you check that out before, or don't use latex balloons. And then also some kids are scared of the noise of it, so just be considerate about those students. So maybe those students can kind of, okay, well, let the people bring the pieces to you and you start putting them in order, so they can still have a job and a part of the game even if they don't like balloons. Seek and find. I told you a lot of the activities are about searching or seeking. And what you do is take a bunch of cones and you lay them out and you hide different objects under them. So maybe like a beanbag is hidden under here and all the cones are spread out. Some of them have objects hidden under, some of them don't. And then kids run out, look under. Oh, no, we don't have an artifact. They come back. Another kid goes, oh, look, I found an artifact. And they can bring it and collect it back. So that's a fun little game because they like to run out and see if they found something. Seek and find. Another one called Blindfold Dig goes along with our Jesus healed the blind man story. Is one person is blindfolded and they're going to be digging for an object or an item, and they have another person to the side of them, their leader, that's going to tell them, dig to the right, go to the left, search right there. Okay, come back in line. So they're going to be leading them along the way, and that makes a great connection to the story that Jesus healed the blind man and that the blindfolded person had to trust their caller to guide them. The man who was blinded in today's Bible story trusted Jesus. Jesus healed the man and proved he has the power of God that God promised. So it has it written out right there for you. Just read it straight off the card if you need, or if you want to paraphrase that as well. All the cards have that as the point, but some of them kind of explain a little bit more. Nature architectural hunt, you're kind of just looking for several different items that are on a list, like maybe feathers and rocks and a pile of sand or a hat or something like that. So you just kind of have a word bank, I guess, of items that they're looking for. You can hide them or you can just leave them. Might be if you have a giant space or area, if you're outside or something like that, you can kind of search them all around the space. It's called nature archaeologist hunt. Next, we have Artifact Museum, which is one person is the guard, and they're trying to catch the people who are being statues. So the other people are going to be frozen like statues, and when the guard looks away, they're going to move, and if the guard catches them moving, then they would trade places or something like that. So you're just trying to hold your statue position and then switch if the guard looks away and see if he catches you. Artifact hunt is kind of like a scavenger hunt with clues. So you would give clue 1, hand it to the different teams. It leads them to a certain place. they get clue 2 from that certain place, it leads them to place 3 and 4 and so on. And if you're doing that with different teams, maybe have like different colors. So yellow team, you only grab the yellow card, or blue team, you only grab the blue card. If you're not just doing it all together as one group, if you have several teams. There's also another game called Chariot Dodgeball. And what happens is you have a boundary or space that you have to stay on to be able to throw in dodgeball. If you're familiar with the game of dodgeball, you're throwing and trying to tag other people. And when you do this, you could use like a tarp on the ground, or a sheet, or just coned off area or space or lines on the ground to create what they call a chariot, or an area they have to throw from. So you can leave the area, go get a ball, but you have to come back to the area to be able to throw and to toss. And they make this connection with Philip, who was telling the good news. And it says, just like you had to stay on your chariots during the game, Philip could have kept to himself and let the Ethiopian man stay in his chariot alone. But that did not how God called us to live our lives. We should step out and we should tell others about Jesus. So that's what it's talking about there. Another game it has for us is Coordinates Dig, where 2 kids are using a line or a string or a twine or some kind of rope, and they hold it on one side of the circle and line it up on the other side of the circle. You'll need to have little numbers you could use, kind of almost set up like a clock in a circle. They use a kid pool with sand and stuff in it. And then it has numbers, or you could use like north, south, west, east, and so on. So it has the letters laid out in there. The picture kind of explains a little, it explains it pretty well. So you put it on one side, let's say it's west and southwest. So then they put the coordinates with the 2 letters, and they have to dig within that line with the sand. That could be for the upper levels. I think that's a little tricky for our 1st and 2nd graders. So you may just have them run over and just dig for an item versus making the coordinates. But if your group understands, then you can challenge them to use the coordinates like they show in the game. There's a few water games. This one's using a water blaster to play basically like soccer. This one's shooting water into a bucket that someone has on their head. So obviously that person's going to get nice and wet. So if you're using some outside space, a water day, those would be fun games. Here's a water balloon dig, where you dig for balloons and you pop them, and there's shaving cream going everywhere. So definitely some messy games outside. A frozen artifact, where you take a t-shirt and get it all wet. You put some artifacts and freeze it, and the kids have to try to get it unfrozen, maybe use some shovels or some hammers to get that frozen artifact out, which is pretty tricky, but it's a good outside fun game. There are some also indoor games for you, like a memory game, who has the artifact kind of games. So these are real simple and easy games. Might even be like welcome games, like as kids show up, you just kind of start that little activity versus like a whole group team game versus the other thing. These are the different recreation games for Destination Dig.